Yeah.
Welcome to this edition of Real Talk with TAS and OnJerya. I am your host, Dr. Teresa A. Smith, and OnJerya is my beautiful co-host. We are so happy to have you with us tonight. I'm bringing in folks over on IG and over on YouTube. OnJerya, how's things treating you right now?
Oh, honey, I am good, blessed and highly favored. Um, I really can't complain. What about you?
Well, I'm not gonna complain. I can't complain because
Mhm.
God has been good to me. Oh, as Daddy would say, God has been, that's Daddy's song. God has been good to me. Oh, I
Get
feel
me
like,
smiled on me.
yes, He did. He has set me free. God has been good to me. So I don't have any complaints because I don't ever want Him to think that I'm not appreciative of all that He does. So that was a good way to give devotion. And so I've given devotion, Lord. I'm going to turn it over to Anjay to see where she want to take us. But I've already told Miss Glory, because I did. I told Miss Gloria just a little while ago, I said, I may have to, I said, OnJerya has started preaching on Tuesday nights. I said, we're having Bible study,
Yeah.
but we were always having Bible study. It's just that we sprinkle in a little other stuff there too. So we make sure that we appeal to everybody's learning style. But we this is Real Talk with Taz and Anjay. We talk real stuff, real conversations. We both grew up in the church, so you're gonna get a little God at the same time. But then Anjay gonna give it a little to you, a little more. I tell you that Miss Glory, I was talking to Miss Glory, like I said, Anjay gonna give it to you with that contemporary twist
Oh,
most. And then the other times, I will give it to you with a not so contemporary twist. But as I said to Miss Glory, and Jay, and you'll understand, I said to her, I said, Lord, I said, I just don't know where I've been through. I said, help me somebody. I said, there's that help me somebody bloodline that runs through my vein. I'm not really talking about the help me. I'm not really talking about the one that said, help me somebody. I'm really talking about that other person that I loved so dearly. And I love to help me somebody too. But for those who are from Anson County that know and don't know, I got two bloodlines. I got the Smith bloodline that comes from Daddy, and then I got that bloodline that comes from Granddaddy, which comes from Mama, and I got that help me somebody blood that runs through me, as I always be saying, help me somebody, as Uncle Jeffro would say. And then sometimes I have to tell that Click Bennett bloodline to hold back somebody. Hold them back. Hold them back. Because sometimes Uncle Click gets to want to ride. He wants, that's just such poor English. Let me restate that. Sometimes Uncle Click likes to rise to the surface. And I have to say, not now. What your friends say? Too much, too much, too
yes,
much.
too much.
No, not too much. Not too much.
Not too much.
I have to tell him, not too much, Uncle Click, not too much. So anyway, I just wanted to give a little humor there, but I did want to share that too, because there's two bloodlines that run through me.
Oh,
And sometimes people want to rise out of you and they just don't know what they be asking for. Because you ask for something, sometimes you're gonna get it. It is not gonna be what you thought it was gonna be. But
nope.
the Lord is good and his mercy is everlasting. And I can tell Uncle Click, too much, too much. But Anjay, now tell me what's been going on, girl.
It's funny that you mentioned Uncle Click because I was I was talking about him maybe last week.
Uh-huh.
I said, yeah, that don't let the last name fool you. Just because the last name is Smith, honey, that Bennett blood is forever strong and will take over when needed. And baby, when it takes over, you're gonna wish that Smith side just would rise to the occasion. And on that note, oh, I was channeling like, Lord, I don't know what to say. And everybody I talked to today was like, you say this every week, but yet you come up with something. And I'm like, yeah, I do. And I did. And the question that I have for this evening is, What part of your life are you tolerating that you know you should be rebuilding? I said, Lord, okay, here we go. We on the theme again. Like,
Well, let me say this. Let me write that down. First of all, I had said well, but I was on mute because I was bringing in folks over on Facebook. Give me the question again, OnJerya.
what part of your life are you tolerating that you know you should be rebuilding?
Are you posing that question to me?
I'm posing that question to you, the viewing audience,
Okay.
to the people that's gonna catch this on the playback.
Well, let me just say a few things here, Anjay. I believe that the Lord has spoken to you. And I'm a channel Granddaddy Nelson now. Because he used to say, the Lord told me to tell you this. I believe the Lord uh, gave you that so that I could say a few words here. And so thank you for this opportunity. Your question was, what part of your life are you tolerating that you should be um, rebuilding?
Yep.
You know that, and the audience knows that last year, almost the last quarter of the year, I had to step away for 3 months. I was unable to leave my house. And I was in a bad situation. And, sometimes we can do good things, but there are bad consequences or negative consequences. And ultimately, my doctor said, you need to step away from everything. And so he put me out of work for 3 months. And so when you talk about what part of your life are you tolerating that you should be rebuilding? Well, when I was out of work for 3 months, I had to rebuild. And everybody that really knows me, I like to quote this. Steve Austin was an astronaut, and then they said that they could rebuild him. So I live with that mentality that you can be rebuilt. And so in order to rebuild me, God was very strategic. He put a person in my life that was able to keep me anchored to my faith. And that person would talk to me every week for great lengths of time. And he kept reminding me that God was in control and that I had to start living on God's algorithm. And over time, it began to shift me and I began to rebuild. Now, also, I got a good therapist. Joel Osteen said, get yourself a good Bible teaching church. I got a good therapist. And he's a good therapist because he knows how to handle me because I'm a handful. I know you don't see it, but I'm a handful. And so then, even though we were not live, I was still having real talk with OnJerya. We were having these really in-depth conversations like we've always had, and I said to, I've been in a domestic violence situation, not where someone was physically abusing me, but when I began to look at all the things that I was going to have to rebuild and overcome from, at that point in time, I was able to categorize them as domestic violence. And I began to name the different sections of my life that had to be rebuilt because I didn't realize I had been tolerating them. And you can only tolerate something so long. And so as my bloodline was warring, because Jesus was saying, peace, be still, it was at war. And so ultimately, I was beginning to shut down. I couldn't leave the house. I wasn't eating. But I was still having real talk with TAS and OnJerya. We just was offline. And then I realized I'd lost my voice. So when you talk about what part of your life are you tolerating that you should be rebuilding, I'd lost my voice. So every time I do a TAS moment, it's all about finding your voice. So if folks haven't really saw that there's a theme there, there's a theme. It's about finding your voice, because I realized that I had lost my voice. And your voice is tied to your identity. And in order to reclaim my identity, I had to find my voice. And so this is what I call that stronger transformation framework that I'm constantly doing every day intentionally. Because without it, oh, them things that bother me, because I'm in the flesh, they will take over. And Click Bennett will rise up inside of me because he dwells in me. And I love my Uncle Click. And for those who are from Anson County, you know what I'm talking about. And I love some Click Bennett. He was a good man to me. He was always kind to me. And I love my great uncles. They were very nice to me. Uncle Jeffro, you hear me saying, help me somebody. And I'd be walking around here saying, help me somebody. Because, and I'm getting warm against the emotion, because I needed help. So when you start talking about what part of your life are you tolerating that you know you should be rebuilding, I was tolerating things that really didn't matter. But I had bought into the facade that it mattered. But it didn't really matter. It didn't matter. And so from faith matters to reclaiming my voice, to real talk, to, you know, moving forward and learning to bounce back. That is the framework that I put together that helped me to understand that I don't have to tolerate this stuff anymore. I can rebuild it, meaning I can reinvent my life, rebuild who I am so that I am the version that makes TAS happy. So let me say that another way. I'm the version that makes Teresa happy. TAS is Teresa. I said to OnJerya before this season started, I said, you know, we got to have more Teresa. And because Teresa is a hoot. I'm funny. I got a very dry sense of humor. Uh, I'm no joke. I'm no joke. I'm just like everybody else. I'm up, I'm down, I'm crying. I'm telling myself as I walk around the house, you gonna eat today. As I tell OnJerya sometimes, I just didn't feel like chewing. I'm like, I'm walking, I said, I don't want to chew today. Well, you gonna have to chew. And if you're not gonna chew, you gonna have to drink. I'm telling myself this. So when I'm bouncing back, I'm 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 telling myself that you're not gonna tolerate that anymore. You gotta rebuild. Though that's that positive self-talk. I'm in a dialogue with myself. No, you're gonna have to, you ain't gonna chew, you're gonna drink. I can only drink a little bit because I got a small stomach because of the sleep syndrome. You're gonna have to drink it. So when you talk about what part of your life are you tolerating that you know you should be rebuilding, for me, it's that part of me that's hidden, that nobody sees. It's not what someone has done to me. It's the way that I have interpreted all of the little things that are happening in the world. As Gina, my world, when I say the world, as Gina would say, you have said, I'm going to take this, I'm going to take this, I'm going to take that. And you just put it in your trauma box. But that box is overflowing. And so what's happening is you talking at your trauma. Now, listen to me, guys, I'm dropping some nuggets here. Because you have been tolerating things that you really didn't want to tolerate, that you were sick and tired of. And we get sick and tired of being sick and tired. So it's a whole lot of stuff that we tolerate, OnJerya, but I'm here to tell you, I'm rebuilding because, $6 million man. Gentlemen, we can rebuild and we have the technology to do it. And we certainly have the technology in 2026 to rebuild yourself. You don't have to stay in that space unless it's working for you. And if it's working for you, hey, what works for you don't work for me. But if it's working for you, baby, let it work for you.
I agree. So tolerating is basically just surviving, settling, staying stuck. Where rebuilding, of course, is healing, choosing differently, and growing on your purpose. Sometimes we're just not stuck. We're just comfortable in what is familiar to us, right? Mm-hmm. So when it comes to our relationships, we're tolerating being ignored, the inconsistent communication, feeling unseen, unheard, maybe not even being desired, right?
Oh,
When we
Jesus.
really should be setting those standards. Walking away, I gotta put me first, Lucia. I gotta
Okay.
put me first and choosing peace over confusion. Because love shouldn't feel like confusion or chasing. When it comes to work, we tolerate the being burnt out, being undervalued, doing everything without recognition, always doing it with a smile, never saying no, even when you don't want to, because that's what we do. We tolerate. When we really should be setting boundaries, advocating for ourselves, exploring new paths, because sometimes you can be loyal to a job and still be disloyal to yourself. When it comes to your family, ooh, ooh, we tolerate the guilt, the manipulation, the always being the strong one, always being the dependable one, the reliable one, the one that can never say no, right? When instead we should be creating those boundaries, those emotional distance, protecting your peace. Because remember, respect doesn't stop at family, it starts there. Then, when it comes to ourselves, we tolerate the self doubt and the procrastination, the negative talk, when instead we should be building, rebuilding on the discipline, the healing, and understanding our self worth. Because the hardest rebuild is the one that no one sees. So, as you are stating, Teresa, yes, we are going to have just a little abbreviated Bible study. I had to go to the Bible, find a couple of people to talk about tonight. So, first, we talk about Nehemiah. Nehemiah, he saw the broken walls and refused to ignore it. He faced opposition, but he still rebuilt. You can't complain about what's broken and then refuse to rebuild it. Then we talk about Esther. She could, and we just talked about Esther. Was it over the weekend or was it yesterday? We just talked about Esther. She could have stayed comfortable in the palace, but she
Yes.
chose to risk her life to speak up and change the outcome. At some point, the silence becomes disobedient.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, we can't forget about the prodigal son who left and made mistakes and hit rock bottom. We all have hit rock bottom a time or two, might be hitting rock bottom right now, but it's okay. He chose to return and rebuild his life because you can always rebuild even after a bad decision.
Mm-hmm.
So tolerating often feels easier than rebuilding, right? Because I really don't have to do any work. Because rebuilding requires letting go, being uncomfortable, and facing that hard truth. You're not confused. You're not avoiding a decision. What you're doing is not putting you first.
Mm-hmm.
So I thought of a little story. I said, okie dokie. Here's my little story. It's a story of the cracked house. There was a woman living in a house with cracks in the wall. When it rained, water leaked in. When the wind blew, the house shook. But yet she stayed. She moved furniture to cover the cracks. She placed buckets under the leaks. She even told herself, oh, it's not that bad. One day, someone asked her, why are you living like this when you can rebuild? She replied, because it's easier to manage what's broken than to start over. But the storms didn't stop, and neither did the damage. Finally, she stepped outside and looked at the house and realized she wasn't protecting her peace, she was protecting her comfort. So she made a choice. She stopped patching what kept breaking and started rebuilding what could stand. So I'll leave you with a couple of thoughts tonight.
Mm-hmm.
What you tolerate will continue, but what you rebuild can transform your life. You don't have to stay in what you've outgrown, but you don't have to tolerate what God is trying to transform. Sometimes the breakthrough isn't coming because you're still holding on to what needs to be rebuilt. So instead of worrying about what somebody else has and idolizing, well, why is it not happening for me? Take a step back and ask yourself, but what's for them is for them. So why would it be for me? What is it that I need to be worried about? What is it that I need to be focusing on? What is it that I'm tolerating that I really should just cut loose? But yet I'm afraid. I'm afraid of what there is to come. I'm afraid of, oh my God, what are people going to say? What are people going to think? Who cares? Who cares? Because only you should be concerned about your peace and your joy. Because trust and believe everybody else is certainly concerned about theirs. And you're right, Maud.
I want to first of all apologize to the folks on IG. I thought I pressed the button. I am so sorry, Black Farmers Hub. Thank you for joining us. I thought I pressed the button. I did not. I apologize. I want to thank Mon and Kevin Vaughn and Cyrus Webb for joining us over on Facebook. And yes, it is a hoot, or I'm a hoot, and it better not be her Mon, Miss OnJerya. But OnJerya, this is just so powerful. I want to go back. I want you to give me this question. You said, what you tolerate, that was right before you said what you rebuild can transform your life. What did you say? What you tolerate
We'll continue.
Ooh. Let me just say a few words here. The Lord is so good. His mercy is everlasting. I tell you, I love that black man from Galilee. You know, the one that walked out on the raging, walked out and calmed the raging sea. He is good. He is good. And I'm going to really tell you about it after we get off, but he's good. Let me tell you what he's done here tonight. He is so good. Oh, I just can't with him sometimes. You talked about choosing. You said something about standard. And, I can't read my hand. Which is choice is a piece of the choices we make become a piece of our confusion. I think is the way you said it. Something like that. It reminded me of a conversation I had with Dennis Perkins on Faith Matters. And we talked about the fact that over time, our rituals, this is not the exact way that we stated it, but over time, rituals become the standard. And I had an aha moment. And the aha moment was, we have generational curses. And that becomes the ritual. That's the way we've always done it. It doesn't matter that someone is being traumatized. We always did it that way. So it then becomes the standard. But every now and then there'll come a person who's born into a bloodline that will challenge the standard. Because you're thinking because it's worked for everybody else, it's going to work for that person. No, it doesn't. The other thing that you talked about that really got my juices flowing, that helped me to see the connection that God was doing tonight, you talked about tolerating seeing, and as you just said it over here, what you tolerate will continue, but what you rebuild can transform your life. I just got through having a conversation with Miss Gloria, because I'm always witnessing when we're having some good biblical talking, and I was saying to her that Dennis had also made a statement. And I shared the same statement with Dr. Velma Bagby in Reclaiming Your Voice. I was saying that he said that sometimes we will settle for being deceived in order to be received. So let me try if I can say it the right way. We'd rather be deceived than be wait a minute, we'd rather be deceived so we can be received. So we were having
Mhm.
this dialogue back and forth. I said, let me try to clean this up for the audience. So what you're saying is I'd rather stay at this job. I'd rather belong to this church because it carries prestige. I'd rather be with this man because people think we're a power couple. They don't know that he don't even speak to me. They don't know that he beats me, he talks bad to me, whatever the things are that make it not a good fit, but it looks good. So I'd rather be deceived than so that I can be received by those on the outside. I want to drive this car because if I drive this car, it's a status symbol. So people say I got it going on. But that goes back to what you're talking about. Because when we continue to tolerate this stuff, because we don't want to liberate ourselves so that we can rebuild, we don't have anyone to blame but ourselves. And it's like that's the reason I talked earlier about that real talk, because it's when you have those real conversations. And I said to someone last night, my voice sounded so bad. I was on Irene's patch. We'll talk about that another day. I had put that REM patch on. So my brain had begun to shut down. And when I listened to my voice message, I thought, oh, yeah, you sound like you. But you see, when I would rather go alone to get alone,
Mhm.
instead of standing up for what I know is right, because I don't want to have a real conversation. And you have to have those real conversations, no matter what voice you have in at that moment. You got to have it because that's when you make those decisions that say, I am worth it. Because otherwise, you're saying that what matters to someone else is more important. So, as I was saying to the person with that voice that sounded so bad, I said, so what you're saying is, I need to have a Viola Davis moment in How to Get Away with Murder. She takes the wig off. She pulls that wig off. Then she takes the lashes off. She grabs a Kleenex. And did you see it on you know the episode? I loved how.
Yes, that was my series. Yes.
And then she wipes that makeup off and this and that. And so basically, ultimately, she's all bare. All
Yep.
you see is that real woman. No makeup, no pretense, no performance. She's not the powerful attorney. She's not that powerful professor. She's just Annalise. Sometimes we have to go back to Annalise in order to rebuild because Annalise, at one point in life, wouldn't have tolerated all those things that she now tolerates. But to get to that point where you can take all that makeup off, pull that wig off, all this different stuff, you have to be ready for real conversations that heal you first. So I just thought that this was such a powerful question that you put forward, OnJerya. What part of your life are you tolerating that you know you should be rebuilding? Well, okay, she done chuckled over there. Okay,
A lot,
thank you.
a lot,
Mhm.
in all of those categories, and then some.
Oh, come on here. And the thing is, the first time I heard this was Mike Murdoch. Go where you're celebrated, not tolerated.
Yep.
And it really resonated with me. But tonight I would say to folks and to myself, sometimes we have bought into tolerating too much and we don't celebrate anything.
Mhm.
I'm really talking about you yourself now. I ain't necessarily talking about them people and organizations and things in your job and stuff that you're connected to. We forget that we are the gift. We are what's most important. We are the vessel. Nothing flows through us, whether you're a man or a woman. Think about what a vessel is. The semen, the egg, we are the vessel. And if we don't start treating the vessel as if it is priceless, meaning not tolerating this stuff that's only going to erode our value,
Right.
and we don't have anyone else to blame. So we need to start celebrating ourselves.
True, but it's so hard to do.
So hard to say goodbye to yesterday.
It is. And, you know, I just think about, Stevie Wonder.
My son
Yes,
stayed too long.
stayed too long. The red flags were there. The warning signs were there. It jumped out in my face and said, boo. And I still turned the other cheek, because that's what they say to do, right? You turn the other cheek.
Mm-hmm.
And I turned the other cheek. When I shouldn't have been turning that other cheek, I should have just realized that this is not for me anymore.
No.
It's okay to walk away.
Mm-hmm.
Because sometimes you have to remind yourself and others, baby, this is your thing.
Mm-hmm.
It's your thing. Do what you want to do.
I can't tell you who to sock it to.
Okay.
You do what you want to do with it.
So, baby, do what you want to do. Because I'm not going to stress over it. I'm not going to cry over it. I'm not even going to get upset over it. Because at the end of the day, it's all you, boo.
It's all you, baby.
It's all you. So.
But that's liberating. And it's like, it's I don't know what it is, because I'm still wrestling with it, because I'm just like everybody else that's want to be real, because some people not in touch to it. When I say real, meaning you're really working on yourself every day, you know that things still need to be refined. So that's what I mean by that. I don't know why I need somebody to tell me. And I don't think it's me not wanting to take responsibility. I think it's like I need someone to help me to reprogram the software that I have been operating under. Because, you think about it. They do a new, you upload, there's a new upgrade to whatever software that you're using, Power BI or whatever. I had to say that because we got Power BI on our side too. And then it don't work right. And sometimes it's like, and I get it now, I'd rather just keep living like I'm living, even though it ain't getting me what I want, versus going through this upload and you're hoping that it's going to be better, and you got worse problems than what you had before the upload of the new software. So it's life, it's life, and there are no clear, easy ways to deal with it, except you have to make the step and understand that it's going to be give and take. And then having people that you can have those real talk conversations with, who don't tell you what you want to hear. Because as I said to Dr. Velma in Finding Your Voice, I'm asking you your opinion. Don't tell me what you think I want to hear. But that's that corporate environment. Because when we're in corporate, we have to speak a certain way. We have to basically, we are always regurgitating that culture. And it's like, can I get an honest assessment? And understand, when I say corporate, I'm not just talking the job. Everywhere is corporate. The organizations, the Masonics, Eastern Stars, AKAs, the Divine Nine, your churches, your family, your relationship. Everything can be corporate, and you can lose your voice to laryngitis. And so we just have to be more conscious of it and intentional about how we respond to how life situations can box us in.
Yep. And that's why I'm in the season of unbotheredness. I know people wanted to.
The season of unbotheredness. Okay.
I am, girl. I'm in that season of unbotheredness, and I know that people wanted to see the angry Black woman, and sometimes I want to give you that, but then sometimes I'm just like, I'm not tolerating your foolishness today. Just because you're acting out of your emotion, I'm going to act out of my intellect. Because my intellect is going to get me further. It's going to help me remain humble, and it's going to help me remain focused and clear. Whereas then if I was acting out of my emotions, well then we all know what that would look like.
No, they don't know, but I know. I'm just so glad you take my advice because you know how I'm about that. You acting out of your emotions instead of your intellect. That don't get you very far.
Nope.
And that just really plays into the hand of whomever, because then they can say, I told you so. Just to show is like
Gotcha.
just to show. I told you so.
Yeah.
No, always keep people guessing. Well, OnJerya, this has been a exhilarating conversation tonight. I'm gonna let you have the last word before I close this out tonight.
Well, I will leave you with these 3 questions to think about in addition to. Get a little homework assignment. You don't have to report back unless you just want to.
Okay.
You don't have to. Again, unless you just want to. But ask yourself as you move forward throughout the night and the rest of the week and the rest of the months and the rest of the year, what am I staying in because it's familiar, not because it's healthy? What am I afraid will happen if I choose to rebuild? And most importantly, who benefits from me staying stuck?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Well,
Got some homework to do.
mm.
Got to do some work.
Well, I'm gonna. This has been excellent, OnJerya. As I said to Miss Gloria, I think I did it instead of you. But we both kind of did it. I'm gonna let OnJerya preach a sermon tonight, but I did too. But we just preached it differently. Mon wrote that over on Facebook. I look forward to these talks. They really make me think. And that last question, Mon, who will benefit if I stay stuck? Now that is the $1,000,000 question. You might want to call a friend. Got a lifeline? Now
Your
that's
lifeline.
who will benefit if I stay stuck?
Yeah.
Because the question is, I mean, it's a rhetorical question here, but do you think you're going to benefit if you stay stuck? Like the lady with the house or the cabin? I mean, you're going to keep patching stuff, baby. Why you keep patching? It's costing you more money to patch than just to get it fixed.
Yep.
So who benefits if you stay stuck? Oh, I hear you, Mom said, I steer clear of those once I find out. I'm telling you,
You got to.
once
You better.
you see, let it go. Don't keep hanging there because it'll take you down. I'm already telling you who benefiting just in case you didn't catch that. Because if you were benefiting, then, and I'm going to say this as we close out. Sometimes we think we are benefiting.
Yep.
But as Dennis Perkins and I have talked about in Faith Matters, and Dr. Velma and I have talked about in Reclaiming Your Voice, deception happens subtly.
Yep.
Deception happens subtly. There's always a vein of truth there, and then there's a lie. And that lie is very subtle. It may change one word, change 2 words, and the meaning of what someone is saying shifts. As a counselor, I tell you, pay attention to body language. Body language doesn't lie. You may not like what it's telling you, but it doesn't lie. And understand that he comes to steal and destroy. And if if you're thinking you're benefiting, you might be benefiting today. That don't mean you're gonna be benefiting tomorrow. and there's
Okay.
levels to being able to benefit. And sometimes we have to start low. I understand with the benefit, but if it don't get up here and it's really benefiting you, you might want to abort. But on that note, OnJerya, this has been very exhilarating. I thank you. You always bring it. You've had us to really do some work tonight on Real Talk with TAS and OnJerya, and I appreciate this. I appreciate everybody joining us over on Facebook, on IG. Thank you for your feedback. And you know the drill. Before you go taking care of someone else, please make sure you take care of yourself first. Bye now.
Bye.